And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren. Welcome to 8th Day Chronicles here at Cross Timbers Farm. Welcome back to part 2 of assembling our Morra rotary hay rake. And as you can see, I've done some work on it since the last video. I had about an hour the other evening and I ran out here and done a little work on it. I've got it off our trailer and onto the 3-point on the tractor. And I have started installing the safety guards. Safety guards are important. I see some folks leave safety guards off of some implements, and that's your prerogative. Safety on our farm is number one. If we have safety guards that go on certain implements, we put them on and we maintain them. And I hope the wind don't blow this camera over. It is super windy today, probably 30-mile-an-hour winds. I believe sometimes that our farm sits right in a valley between some mountains, and we're up on a mountain in the middle of that valley. You got just like a bowl of a valley with a mountain in the middle of it, and we're right up on that hill in the middle of it. And the wind just cuts through this valley like you wouldn't believe. Sometimes I think we're windier on average than it would be in the prairies of Nebraska or Wyoming. The wind here is just relentless at certain times of the year. We have wind about all the time, at least a breeze, but certain times of the year it gets downright windy. And it's 30-mile-an-hour winds probably today. And cold again. You can see I've got my heavy coat on. We had a heavy frost this morning. And about 30 minutes after daylight, the wind started. And I sat in our home and had some breakfast and drank my morning coffee and just look out the picture window of our living room, and you could just see the trees little by little start swaying, getting worse and worse. And now it's about 11 a.m. and it's still only about 46 degrees with about a 30-mile-an-hour wind. It's just unreal. So I hope my dead cat on my microphone is working to shield this wind noise. But it's supposed to be sunny today and start a warm up. Tomorrow we're supposed to be in the mid-60s, and by Wednesday, today's a Monday, by Wednesday we're supposed to be close to 70. Then Thursday and Friday it's going to dive right back off to cool weather. So a little warm front's pushing in. That's maybe what's causing all this wind, pushing some warmer air in for tomorrow and the next day and pushing the cold out. Then a cold front's coming right back in behind it a day or two later. So we got out here the other day and I had a couple hours, and my sweet wife Susan helped me because these guards are pretty long and you have to put them together. And I've got the bolts just temporarily stuck in them to hold them in place. We got the guards started. We're going to finish installing these guards, tightening everything down today. And as you can see, we've got it hooked to our tractor, and I'm happy to report that once we got this implement hooked to our 3-point, I talked in the last video about that stabilizer bar. The bolt hole's not lining up. Okay, I backed the tractor up to the trailer, hooked it to the 3-point. I pulled that implement back to the edge of the trailer and took the tailgate off of it where I could back my tractor right to it, and hooked the 3-point to the implement, lifted it off the trailer and pulled it out from under the trailer, and then, you know, parked the truck and the trailer out of the way. We're done with them for now. Once we got that thing onto the 3-point and I was able to lift it up, all of a sudden those bolt holes lined up. They did. They lined up just as intended. Once I got that implement was sitting kind of like this, making those bolt holes not line up. Once I got some weight on it, it's flattened out and that stabilizer bar lined right up. The assembly manual calls that thing a stretch bar. I've never heard a term called a stretch bar. I don't know what that means, but it's basically a stabilizer bar, and it's obviously very important to the implement because that stabilizer bar is really heavy duty steel. And it's a big thick bar, kind of a semi-channel bar that comes down and attaches. So obviously it's very important to that implement. So we have it on, it all bolted up good and tight, and now we're just going to go through the steps of installing our safety bars. And they got some springs, they're spring loaded so you can adjust them. This thing is fantastic when you're done with it, how small it folds up. I'm gonna back up these bars right here, the safety bars, so when those tines are spinning, nobody can get hit by them and you won't hit fence posts and things of that nature. They're out like this. When you're done with it, they will fold up, and all the rotor arms are only held by a pin, and you pull the pin and you put them in this top bar. This thing will store in about 3 feet of space. It's awesome for that. When you've got a small barn like we do and limited space to store your equipment, this thing's going to store really nice for the winters, and when you're not using it, this is going to be fantastic. I really like Morra's design, how this thing folds up, and it's spring loaded to fold up, and we've got to install the springs and all that type thing. So let's get started. These safety bars are 3 pieces. You have a back piece here, it's 1. You have a piece right here that comes back, it's going to be spring loaded right here, and then you have a larger bar that goes around to the front. They all join right here, and we're going to get them all lined up straight and get them cinched down tight. Nothing like a good hot cup of coffee on a cold, windy day. Oh, it's so good. Okay, we have our guards installed, and man, they're nice. I like them. They're pretty heavy duty. If you're raking hay and you bump into a T-post or something, these should really protect your tines that's swinging around and let you know in the tractor seat that you've bumped something. And they're spring loaded here on the back, and they have roll pins in the front. I had to hammer roll pins in. They're supposed to have roll pins in the back here, but I just put a bolt through them in case for some reason or another I ever needed to take this part loose. It'd be a lot easier than having to drive back out another roll pin. So I just put 2 bolts in the back, 2 machine bolts, but I did use the roll pins in the front. And it's really simple. Look how wide this machine is. Such a nice feature about this Morra for storage when your space is limited. Watch this, this is nice. Okay, it's spring loaded in the back, and it's got hooks here where it goes. You just get right back here near the spring and push in and lift at the same time. Look at this, okay? Then you push again, it smacks right back into the holder, and it's all up out of the way. Okay, each one of these rotor arms has a pin connection here, and they just come right on and off, really simple, and they store right up here in this top, sticking up for storage when you're done. Okay, I'm gonna go to the other side, compress the spring, pop it up, get right back here, give it a squeeze. Look at that. Is that not nice? That thing went from almost 10 feet wide to 3 feet wide to store about anywhere you need it stored. That is fantastic. When your space is limited in your barn, this is nice, or in your equipment storage shed. This is super, super nice. Okay, I'm gonna leave them up while we install the skirt. Here's the skirt arm that is extendable. This thing just stays in storage. It slides right up in this channel. All right, it just goes right in. Okay, and we do have 2 bolts here with big welded wing nuts on them to lock this thing down tight. When you've got it where you want it for working width, and it does have a hitch pin that goes in to maintain its position. Okay. We'll go ahead and get that in. Right there. Okay. Does have a cotter pin that goes right on the other side to maintain it in that hole. Okay, that's the working width. Okay, you can see this thing kind of hanging down. You can adjust it right here. Just like that. Okay, this is where your skirt's gonna hang when these tines come around and kick your hay over against this skirt. All right, let's see how the guard works with the skirt out. This guard is got a bend in it, a little different. It's supposed to clear this skirt. Okay. Perfect, look at that. Clearing that skirt just perfect. All right. This is nice, I like it. This is a well thought out machine. All right, let's get to installing our skirt. The skirt on this thing's even pretty heavy duty. That is a heavy skirt. And it's even got reinforced metal 1, 2, 3, 4 places along the skirt to keep it stiff when hay's really hitting against it hard. This is a nice implement. Our assembly is complete. Wow. This, from just putting it together, now bear in mind I've not used it, but from just putting this thing together, I can tell this is a well-designed, well thought out, if you want to call it that, implement. I can see that this rake is going to be fantastic. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was. For some reason, you know, when you look at something online, or you look at pictures in a flyer or a catalog or whatever, you kind of have your mind set on what size you think it's going to be. Even though they give you some measurements and all that, this is a lot bigger implement than I thought it was. However, that's good. It's very robustly built. Now, how does it work actually in the hayfield? That's yet to be seen. We're not going to know that till next May. We got to go all through winter and with no hay being cut as expected. So we're not going to find out the true value of this rotary rake until next early summer, like next May of 2026. And it is now November 2025. So we got a ways to go to be able to use it. However, I do want to get the PTO put on, get the oil filled, everything greased, and then turn the PTO power on and see how it does. We're not going to be raking any hay, but just see how it does. Don't let it scrub, you know, the tines scrub the ground or nothing like that. Just see how it does and how it turns. You know how a rotary rake does, the tines come down as they come around. They kick the hay into that skirt, then the tines lift back up as they come around. It's a neat implement. And we want to run it a little bit just to make sure everything's running as it's supposed to. And the wind's gonna blow my camera over. Wow, look at this wind. So we're gonna get everything, oil in the gearbox or the gearbox drive, and get everything lubed, but we can't do that yet because we have an issue with this rake and my tractor. And I ran into issues with the net wrap baler with my tractor. It's nothing like that. My top link's too short. Okay, we're going to pretend we're going to store this thing. I'm going to show you how easy this is. Spring-loaded guards, really nice. Push in, raise. When you get to that top catch, push in again, and it's up. Go to the other side. Same thing, just get right in here. Never do this with your machine running. Okay, pull out, push up, push out, right into storage position. Okay, our rake arms, very, very simple. Okay, you take your rake arms off. They do have a pin, and I don't have them in, so bear with me with that. All right, you just pull the rake arm off. They store just like that. Isn't that nice? Okay, probably best done from the back side. All right, let me just start storing them from back here. A new implement, you learn better ways to do things. Okay, there. Slide the arm out, and then you go back around and put your pins in. It's all in the transport position, storage position. Man, don't that fold up neat? Look how small of a package it makes when it's in storage position. Mentioned I have a problem with my top link. Okay, I have adjusted my top link as far as it will go. It's extended, and I don't like to extend a top link all the way out with the threads as far as they'll go, because it weakens it, I feel. That's when it's the most vulnerable to bending and something like that. Here's the problem. I'm gonna pull this arm back around and let it come around, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay? Pretend this rake's in motion, and it should go right around and barely touch the ground. Boom. It's scrubbing the ground, digging in, even before it gets all the way under. To get the rake up in the front, I have to extend the top link. The more I push this frame back, it's going to lift the front of the rake up. And my stock top link that came with my Kubota tractor, that's the original one, it is too short. It's extended as far as it'll extend, and it did bring the front tine when it comes around up some, but not enough. It's still scrubbing the ground. And I think in order to make this rake work the way I need to, I'm gonna have to go to a tractor supply store somewhere, or Rural King or something like that, and buy me a longer extended top link to make this rake work. When I use my drum mower, my top link is extended pretty far, and I've always been kind of a little iffy about that anyway. It's always held. I've never had a problem. But when you run those threads out of your top link to extend it, the further out you come, I feel like the weaker that top link's getting. Right now, I've got this one ran all the way out, and it isn't enough. I need a couple more inches at least. I'd say maybe 5 more inches to get this up where it needs to be to level out these tines. And this is the original top link for this tractor, and it works wonderful with my bush hog. It works wonderful with the ballast box and all that. But I think I'm going to have to buy a dedicated top link for this one. And I may use it on the drum mower too. And if I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and buy a heavy duty one. I have got the top link adjusted in the 3 holes in the back of your tractor. One of them's for like a draft control, even though this tractor don't have draft control. But I've got it in the very top hole and in the very bottom one on the rake. And I'm still about probably anywhere from 3 to 6 inches too short. And like I said, it's extended all the way out. So my next trip will be to a tractor store somewhere that sells top links that I can get a longer top link. I'm gonna measure this one and then pick up the longest category 1 top link, you know, within reason of whatever I need. I'm amazed at how that big of a rake, they've designed that thing. The guards to fold up, all the arms that are just pin on to go into a rack on the top. Look how neat that thing fits in under our equipment shed. It's amazing. Somebody took some time engineering that. And I know there's more rotary rakes than one out on the market that's designed like that. I don't know if Morra designed it or who did, but at least as far as this Morra goes, somebody done a fantastic job with it. And the build quality, everywhere that could be stressful on that rake is super reinforced and heavy duty with really thick steel. And somebody done a really good job building this. I've not used it actually raking hay, and I've not even used it with it turning. I've got to get the gearbox filled with 80 weight 90, and I'll be doing that in the next day or two. And then go around it every grease zert, put some grease on it. I'll be doing that as well. And the PTO shaft, I'll hook up the PTO shaft at that time and see if it needs trimmed or not. Hopefully it won't, but if it does, we'll trim the PTO shaft for a proper fit and go from there. We can't really use it also until we buy a extended top link. And they make little brackets that goes on like a quick hitch where you can extend your top hitch out a little bit. But I've read a lot of mixed reviews on those things. A lot of people say they're very poorly built. The holes don't line up exactly right, and on and on. So we're just gonna go with a longer top link. I could use it on the drum mower as well, just for peace of mind to have more threads up in that turnbuckle. So, and it has to have one for this. We went through assembling this rake, and we did not do step by step every single bolt. That would have been very redundant and boring. So what we did was just went piece by piece. We started out with that top bar that goes above the rotor and installed it. Then we went to what they call the stretch bar, which is really, in my opinion, just a stabilizing bar. And that stabilizing bar is heavy duty, thick metal. Bolt holes didn't line up. So we decided we needed to pick it up, and then getting the weight off of it just sitting down like that would stretch it back out a little bit for those bolt holes to line up. So our next step was to connect the 3-point attachment to the implement, and we did that. Then we backed the tractor to the trailer and hooked the 3-point up, picked it up, and voila, those bolt holes lined up perfectly. Then while we had it raised, we installed the wheels and the tires. Very simple to do. It comes with 2 and 1 category pins, and you just flip them whichever way you want them. So they were turned category 2, so we flipped them out to category 1 and done that. Then we were able to sit it on the ground with our tractor attached, and we installed all the guards and the springs and the bolts and the roll pins and all that type of stuff. Got everything lined up, and then test fit the rake arms in, and they connect with a cotter pin fantastic design. Whoever designed this rake, I've not used it, but my initial impressions of assembling this thing is 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. This is a very well built machine. Now, how does it work raking hay? That's yet to be seen. So the jury will be out on that part until May of 2026 when we start cutting hay next year. Now's the best time to be doing something like this. Don't wait until a week before you're starting to cut hay and you're scrambling to get a raker assembled and ready. If you're going to be buying some kind of implement this winter in the off season, it's best if you can do it now through February and get this stuff ready to go before hay season rolls around. So far, my initial impression, 2 thumbs up, 5 stars. This is a fantastic implement. Not used it. That's just judging it on assembling it. All right, we got to buy a longer top link, and then I think we can actually test it running. But until then, look how nice it parks. Out of the way, takes up very little room. That is a fantastic design. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. Hope this helps. If someone out there buys a Morra rotary rake and you're getting ready to start assembling it, how to do it. Like I said, it wasn't just a bolt by bolt, but it was pretty much step by step as far as the pieces go. And it all went together really good. Really good, exactly as advertised and expected for a good implement. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. And I pray God blesses you and your family. And I pray y'all have a fantastic day. Okay, we got our top link off. This is the stock top link for our Kubota tractor. And I'm gonna take it in the shop and measure it, fully extend it and measure it. And then I'm gonna be going to a tractor store somewhere and buying a lot longer one, or maybe not a lot longer, but longer to work better with that rake. So, and goodness gracious, there's a big old deer out there in our west field. I come out here the other evening, there was 16 deer in that field, eating all my orchard and Timothy. 16, and not a buck in the group. Everything out there was does. The does need thinned out around here. They tear our fences up and tangle them and cause all kind of havoc. But there's a big old deer out there now, and I think it's just a big old doe. I don't see any horns, at least from 400 yards away. I guess it could have small horns or antlers, but I stuck a trail camera out there just to see if I could catch a buck out there at night or something cruising around these does. So far, nothing. But I'll stick a video clip from that camera right here so you can see all these deer that's just out there every evening. All right, let's get to the shop and measure this. God bless you guys.